Picture yourself standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, thunder splits the sky in fire, and waves crash against the rocks with relentless force. Most people would tremble. Their heart would race. Their body would shake, and their mind would beg them to run. But a Stoic, he stands still, calm, unshaken, for he knows we cannot control the storm, but we can control ourselves. Stoicism is not just an ancient philosophy. It is an art of living, a discipline of the mind and the heart. It is the code that guided slaves like Epictetus, who, even in chains, discovered true freedom within. It is the strength that shaped Seneca, who turned exile into wisdom. It is the voice of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who carried the weight of Rome, yet never let power defeat his virtue. In this video, you will uncover 5 Stoic lessons that can transform your life. Lessons that teach you to face pain, embrace discipline, and conquer yourself. Prepare yourself. Today, you will learn to live as a true Stoic. Imagine a Roman slave, chained, wounded, deprived of freedom. His name was Epictetus. Many looked at him and saw only misery, but within him lived a force no master could ever break: his mind. Epictetus taught, "Some things are within our power, others are not." And in this simple teaching lies one of the greatest truths of life. Most people suffer because they fight against what they cannot control. They complain about the weather, about politics, about the economy, about the world's injustices. They suffer because they want the universe to obey their desires. But the universe does not bend to whims. The Stoic understands life has 2 spheres: the sphere of control, my actions, my choices, my judgments, my virtues; the sphere of the uncontrollable, other people's opinions, the past, death, fate. Wisdom lies in focusing on the first sphere and accepting the second with courage. Story. It is said that one day a Roman soldier insulted Epictetus. Instead of reacting with anger, he simply smiled and said, "You can hurt me, but you cannot offend me. For offense exists only if I allow it." This is the power of the Stoic. When someone provokes him, he does not trade his peace for anger. When life strikes him, he does not trade his dignity for pain. He remains the master of himself. Practical application in modern life. If someone criticizes you on social media, you cannot control the attack, but you can control your response. If the market crashes, you cannot control the economy, but you can control your financial discipline. If illness comes, you cannot control the diagnosis, but you can control your courage in facing it. The storm will always come, but serenity lies in your choice of how you face it. The first step to freedom is to accept, I cannot control the world, but I can control myself. The common man believes freedom is doing whatever he wants, but the Stoic knows that is not freedom. It is slavery. The man who is a slave to desire is a slave to gluttony, to addiction, to laziness, to anger. The one who is a slave to emotion is carried away like a leaf in the wind. The one who lives without discipline does not live free. He lives in chains. True freedom is born of discipline. Discipline forges character. It transforms fragile men into warriors. It elevates the wise into greatness. Story. On the Roman battlefield, soldiers trained before dawn. Wearing heavy armor, wielding wooden swords, they repeated movements until every muscle knew its duty. They did not train for pleasure. They did not train for fun. They trained because they knew, on the day of war, discipline would save their lives. So it is in life. When you wake up early to pursue your goals, even when tired, you are training like a soldier. When you refuse a fleeting pleasure to achieve something greater, you are guarding yourself like a legionary. When you silence your anger and respond with wisdom, you wield your sword against yourself, defeating your own weakness. Practical application in modern life? If you desire health, discipline is in every workout, even when the bed feels more comfortable. If you seek financial success, discipline is in every choice to save instead of spend. If you seek wisdom, discipline is in opening a book, even when your phone tempts you. Discipline is harsh, but it is the only bridge to true freedom. For the undisciplined is a slave to his instincts, but the disciplined is the master of himself. The Stoic knows, if I master my habits, I master my destiny. Human beings spend their lives trying to escape pain. They run from discomfort, from frustration, from defeat. But the Stoic understands something most ignore. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the teacher. Suffering teaches more than pleasure ever could. It is in the cold that we learn the value of warmth. It is in loss that we discover the importance of what we had. It is in defeat that the hunger for victory is born. Story. It is said that Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, lost many of his children at a young age. Each death pierced his heart like a sword. But instead of drowning in despair, he wrote in his journal, "It is not what happens to me that matters, but how I choose to respond." Pain did not break him. Pain shaped him. Suffering is like fire that purifies gold. Without heat, gold remains impure. Without pain, the soul remains fragile. And you, how many times have you cursed your hardships? How many times have you complained about the stones in your path? The Stoic looks at his scars and understands. Every scar is a silent teacher, practical application in modern life. When you lose a job, you learn to reinvent yourself. When a relationship ends, you learn to grow stronger alone. When you fail at a goal, you discover new ways forward. There is no growth without pain, and there is no greatness without scars. The Stoic does not flee from suffering. He faces it and says, "If pain has come, let it teach me." The world chases after gold, land, and power. But the Stoic knows nothing is more precious than time. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose possessions and rebuild them. But every minute that passes will never return. Time is the currency of life, and most spend it as if it were infinite. Story. Seneca, the great Roman philosopher, wrote in his work on the shortness of life, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He observed men spending their days on intrigues, luxuries, and trivial pursuits, and he said, "Life is long enough if you know how to use it." Imagine a man who spends his whole life chasing wealth, but never lives a single day in peace. When old age comes, he realizes the true treasure was the time he traded for nothing. The Stoic understands that time is limited. Every sunrise is a gift. Every night could be the last. And so, he lives with intention. He does not waste hours on envy, gossip, or idleness. He invests his time in what builds, what strengthens, what lasts. Practical application today. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, am I living the right way? Stop chasing the superficial. Value time with your family, your health, your mind. Time is the rarest wealth. And the Stoic, unlike most, knows how to spend it. Death, the subject everyone avoids, but for the Stoic, it is not an enemy. It is a silent counselor, whispering every morning, "Live today as if it were your last." For the Romans the phrase was clear, Memento mori. Remember that you must die, not as a dark burden, but as a call to true life. Story. It is said that when a Roman general returned victorious to Rome, he paraded in his chariot, celebrated by the crowd. Behind him, a slave whispered, "Remember that you are mortal." It was a reminder of humility, that no matter how great the victory, no matter how high the power, all end the same way: dust. But the Stoic does not fear this. On the contrary, he finds freedom. For he who remembers death does not waste life. He who accepts mortality embraces each moment. He who does not fear the end does not bow to fear itself. Practical application today. Reflect daily on the brevity of life. Use the awareness of death as fuel to act now. Do not postpone what truly matters. Death is not the enemy. It is the guide that shows us the value of each day. Just like the ancient philosophers, we too march through life. Through victories and defeats, joys and sorrows, we learn that true strength lies not in what we control outside, but within ourselves. Stoicism is not just a distant philosophy. It is a practical path to live with courage, discipline, and purpose. If this message resonated with you, remember, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share with someone who needs to hear these words. Together, we keep spreading the wisdom that has endured for centuries. And never forget, the greatest empire you can conquer is yourself.